Hello Helix fans, mums and dads, and ships at sea. This is your Captain Brian Vollmer coming to you with the newest Helix newsletter. Lynda and I only have a little less than a week here in North Fort Myers before we return to Canada. On Sunday we leave. Lots of stuff coming up in Helix land, but first I want to mention a few thank yous and other things. First of all, a big congratulations to our friends Stet and Hailey Howland, who tied the knot in Vegas last Saturday, April 24th. Stet used to play drums for Wasp, Lita Ford, Blackfoot, and now he's a drummer for Metal Church. Last year when he came off tour, he found out he had leukemia and he had to go through all sorts of treatment and chemotherapy and stuff like that for his cancer, but now he's been given a full bill of health, so that's great, Stet. And then he finished it off by marrying Heidi in Vegas. Lynda and I would have liked to have gone, but we couldn't get out of here. Secondly, we'd like to wish Jerry Doucette all the best in retirement. He retired a couple weeks ago. We have a long history with Jerry. We first played with him at Algonquin College in Ottawa way back in the late 70s, and since then we played all sorts of dates in Western Canada. Jerry Doucette, as you know, wrote Mama Let Him Play and has been in the Canadian music scene for many, many years. So once again, best of luck to Jerry Doucette. And lastly, I'd like to thank William Malstein and Mike at Hammond Stadium for getting me the gig singing the Stars and Stripes there last week. The link's right here if you want to go check it out.
Just a bag full of vagabond bones, a hand down hard, a black cat moan.
We're going to start a new feature in every newsletter called the CD of the month. Helix has about 20 CDs from over the years, and they each have their own little individual story, which is like a chapter in the story of Helix. And even though some sold a little, some sold a lot, they all played a part in, like I said, the Helix story. This month we like to feature the album Vagabond Bones. Vagabond Bones is a very important album for the band because it was the first album that I wrote with Sean Kelly, and it was also the album where the band from the 80s, Brent Durner, Greg Hines, and Daryl and myself got back together and reformed the band. So even though the album was started with different players, it ended up being that lineup that played on it. So Vagabond Bones, we're going to drop the price on this album to only $10, and we're going to give away a free Helix tote bag. Actually, it costs something like a cent or something, but you can get that. It's only going to be on special for this month, and that's what we're going to do with all these CD features of from the newsletter. We're going to drop the price and feature the album for a short period of time, and you can go pick it up. Vagabond Bones had the single Make 'Em Dance, which was actually a holdover from the Power of Rock and Roll album. It was written by myself, Gord Pryor, and Steve Georgopoulos. And then Sean came and added some great guitar licks, which, in my opinion, elevated the song to the next level. And Make 'Em Dance ended up nearly breaking the top 30 on rock radio, which is pretty unheard of for a band that's not on a major label and doesn't have that money push behind them. We did it all ourselves, so I'm quite proud of that fact. And there's a lot of great songs in Vagabond Bones, so you can check it out by going to this link right here. And like I said, we're going to drop the price to $10 for the next month. And we're also going to include a tote bag for only a cent or 2 cents, something like that. But so pick it up, it's a great deal. I'm just going to mention another thing about Vagabond Bones, and that is that there were 3 drummers in this album. Rob McEachran played the bulk of the album, but we also had Ned Nemi played on the single Make 'Em Dance, and then Fritz came in the end to play the last 3 or 4 tracks, I can't remember. So that was something about that album. Also, Russ Graham from Killer Dwarfs, who was actually born the same day as me, June 30th, Russ came in and sang with me and hung over but still hanging in. So that's another reason to buy that album. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the acoustic show. The acoustic show is coming up in Blythe, Ontario on Thursday, May the 17th. And the Blythe Theatre is famous throughout southwestern Ontario. We've got a very different show that night, and we're going to be trying quite a few new ideas. As usual, we're going to play all the hit songs, most of them from the Smash Hits Unplugged album. And then we've got a few other songs like Get Your Hands Dirty and When the Bitters Got the Better of You from my solo album we're going to include in the set. We've got some great people guest appearing that night. First off, Sean Kelly, who I've mentioned before. Sean is one of the best guitar players in Canada. He's played for Gilby Clarke of Guns N' Roses, Nelly Furtado, Alan Frew, Lee Aaron. He just participated in that album, so he's going to be a great addition to the show. We also have Cindy Weichman. Cindy was the only female member of the band Helix, and she was in the band from about 2003, 2006. But we originally met Cindy on a tour of Newfoundland back in the 80s when the band she was in, which is called Chaos, with her husband Reiner, who was also in Helix for a while. That's when we first met Cindy. So Cindy's going to be there that night. Next is Cheryl Lescombe, and Cheryl is, in my opinion, one of the best female blues singers in Canada, and I've known Cheryl since the 70s too. We've been friends for a long time. Cheryl sang quite a few Helix albums, and so she's going to be coming in to sing on some of the bluesier tracks like The Kids Are All Shakin', Get Your Hands Dirty, When the Bitters Got the Better of You, maybe a couple more, so we'll see how that goes. So Cheryl Lescombe, and last but not least, I'm bringing in Beth Bartley. I've never met Beth before, but she comes very highly recommended by Daryl. And Beth is a well-known fiddle player from the Niagara Peninsula, and she's going to be doing the leads in Your Woman Now from the first Helix Breaking Loose album. And she's also going to be trying to play the solo in The Devil Is Having a Party Tonight. I think there's a few other songs like That Day Is Gonna Come and Kids Are All Shakin' that she's also going to be playing the fiddle in. This gig is on the Thursday night of the May 2-4 weekend. So what I'm suggesting to people, if they want to come up and say go to the lake the next day, right across the street from the Blythe Theatre is the Blythe Inn. And I'm going to put the information up on the screen right now. It's at 422 Queen Street, Blythe, and the phone number is 519-523-9381. And you can go check it out just to Google the Blythe Hotel. Last but not least, I'd like to talk about Universal releasing a Best of Helix album. As many of you know, Universal bought out Capital EMI a couple years ago, and so now they're coming out with another Best of album. But this one has a couple extra songs that were written once again by Sean and myself. The first one is Gene Simmons Says Rock is Dead, that we released a couple years ago. And here's the link for the video for that song if you haven't seen it. And also Even Jesus Wasn't Loved in His Hometown from the Bastard of the Blues album. And here's the link right here that you can go find the video for that song. Both those videos were done by former Helix guitar player Brent Durner. They're great videos, so check them out. So that's it for now. By the time you get the next Helix newsletter, Lynda and I will be back in the Great White North at Planet Helix, and we're going to be starting the touring for the summer. We go out and play with Vince Neil in Winnipeg in April, I think a week after we get back. I'm also going to be involved with the Light of Day for Parkinson's disease concert at the old Norma Jeans in town for my buddy Greg Campbell from Merchant Motion that sets that up. So we're going to be really, really busy. And lastly, I'd like to thank all our friends out there for signing up to the newsletter. You don't know how important that is. It's our connection with our fans, which is you. Canadian radio doesn't really play the band, maybe Rock You or Deep Cuts the Knife every now and then, but for the most part, it will not play new material by classic rock acts. So by you signing up and getting other people to sign up, it's helping to keep the ball rolling for bands in the Canadian classic rock genre. So get them to sign up. It's very easy. Just go to the Planet Helix website at www.planethelix.com, and there's a slot at the bottom of every page to sign up. So that's it for this week. Don't be square. See you around. Catch you on the flip side, because there ain't no rest for the wicked.